You see that crack running across your garage floor right now. The one that started as a hairline last spring, and now you can fit a quarter into it. You have been told you need to break it open, chisel it wider, fill it with hydraulic cement, and pray it holds through one more winter. That is a lie. $1 spray from any small hardware store seals that crack permanently, and the largest concrete repair company on earth spent 15 years and millions of dollars making sure you never heard about it. I learned this from a man named Eli, sitting on the back porch of a stone farmhouse outside Millersburg, Ohio, watching him pour a clear liquid into a crack on a foundation his grandfather poured in 1948. The Amish have been using this trick for 4 generations. They never call a contractor, they never replace a slab, they never even widen the crack. There is a specific government document published by the Bureau of Reclamation that confirms exactly what these families have known since before the Second World War. By the end of this video, you will know the name of that document, the exact mixing ratio, and the specific weekend window when this works best. If you already own your home, especially if it was built before 1980. This is written for you, not for builders, not for new construction, for you standing in your own garage, looking at that crack right now. I want to take you back to the first time I watched this work with my own eyes. It was late September, the kind of Ohio afternoon where the light goes gold around 4 o'clock. I was standing in a milking parlor on a farm just north of Berlin, Ohio, with a man named Eli Yoder, not the Eli from the channel name, a different Eli. There are a lot of Eli Yoders in Holmes County. This particular Eli was 63 years old, with hands the color of cured leather and a beard that touched the 3rd button on his shirt. He pointed to the concrete floor under our boots. There was a crack running diagonally across the slab, maybe 10 feet long, wide enough in places to swallow a pencil. He told me his father poured that floor in 1962. The crack appeared in 1971. And he had been resealing it the same way every 7 to 10 years with the same product since he was a teenager. He pulled a brown glass bottle off a wooden shelf. The label was faded. The liquid inside looked like water with a faint blue tint. He told me it cost him about $1 to treat that entire crack. I did not believe him. I had just paid a contractor in my own town $1,100 to inject epoxy into a crack half that size in my own basement, and the contractor told me I would probably need to do it again in 5 years. Eli laughed when I told him that. Not a mean laugh, a sad one. The kind of laugh a man gives when he realizes you have been robbed and you did not even know it. He poured the liquid directly into the crack, slowly, letting it soak in. He waited about 15 minutes. He poured a second coat. He told me to come back in 2 days. I did. The crack was sealed. Not patched, not filled. Sealed from the inside out, as if the concrete itself had grown back together. The liquid he used has a name. It is called sodium silicate. You can buy it at hardware stores, at agricultural supply stores, and online for less than $1 per ounce. A single small bottle will treat dozens of feet of cracks. It is sometimes sold as water glass. It is sometimes sold as liquid glass. It is the same compound that has been used since the late 1800s to preserve eggs, to fireproof wood, and yes, to permanently seal concrete. The Amish have been using it for as long as concrete has existed on their farms, and the modern concrete repair industry has spent the better part of a century making sure suburban homeowners never hear that word. Because if you knew what sodium silicate does inside concrete, you would never call a repair contractor again, and that is exactly the problem. A permanent fix is a catastrophic threat to an industry built on calling you back every 5 years. Now here is where the story gets interesting, because the science behind this is not folk wisdom. It is documented, peer-reviewed, sitting in plain sight in academic journals, government engineering manuals, and dam safety reports. A study published in the journal Construction and Building Materials, indexed on Science Direct, tested what happens when sodium silicate is applied to cured concrete. The researchers measured the formation of calcium silicate hydrate, the compound that gives concrete its strength before and after treatment. The result was not small. The calcium silicate hydrate gel content inside the concrete increased by 389.8% compared to untreated samples. The permeability, which measures how easily water moves through the concrete, dropped by 60.6%. In plain English, the concrete became almost 4 times denser at the crack site, and water could barely pass through it anymore. This is not patching. This is not surface coating. This is the concrete chemically growing new structural material inside its own pores, sealing the crack from within. The Bureau of Reclamation, which is the federal agency that built Hoover Dam and most of the major dams in the American West, has used this exact technique on concrete structures since at least the 1940s. They have a document freely available as a PDF on their website titled Guide to Concrete Repair, last revised in 2015. In that document, they describe penetrating sealers applied with airless spray equipment allowed to flow into cracks, where they react with the calcium hydroxide naturally present in cured concrete. The reaction produces calcium silicate hydrate and sodium hydroxide. The calcium silicate hydrate precipitates inside the pores. It forms a crystalline structure. That structure is insoluble. It does not wash out. It does not crack with temperature changes. It becomes part of the concrete permanently. And here is the part the federal engineers wrote in plain language, but most homeowners never read. They wrote that this technique does not require reapplication. The seal becomes part of the concrete permanently. Read that twice. The largest infrastructure agency in the United States has been documenting the permanence of this method for decades. Yet you have been told you need to patch your driveway every 3 to 5 years. Why is that? Because Sika, the world's largest concrete repair company, generates billions of dollars a year selling products that require repeated application. A permanent solution is the worst possible product for a recurring revenue model. So when a researcher publishes a paper showing a 60% reduction in permeability from a $1 treatment, that paper gets buried in an academic journal. It does not get a marketing budget. It does not appear in your hardware store flyer. It does not get pitched to the contractor who shows up at your door. The information is not hidden. It is just unprofitable to share. Now, the Amish never had a marketing department. They had grandfathers. And grandfathers passed this knowledge down quietly, sealing one crack at a time, generation after generation, on farms that have stood for 200 years on the same poured foundations. Eli told me his great-grandfather brought the technique with him from Pennsylvania in 1894 when his family migrated west to Holmes County. They never stopped using it. And that is exactly why their barns, their silos, their dairy floors, and their root cellars do not have the crumbling, spalling, water-stained concrete you see in most suburban garages built after 1970. Now, if you already own a house and you are thinking this only applies to people building from scratch, stay with me, because this next part is specifically for you. I want you to walk into your garage tonight, or your basement, or out to the driveway with a flashlight after the sun goes down. Find every crack, mark each one with a piece of blue painter's tape on either end so you can find it again in daylight. Do not widen them, do not chisel them open, do not buy a single bag of hydraulic cement. The conventional advice from every major brand tells you to chisel the crack to a minimum width of 1/4 inch, break away the deteriorating edges, brush out the loose material, and then force a bead of caulk-grade sealant deep into the crack. That method works for about 2 to 4 years on average before the patch separates from the concrete and the crack reappears underneath. I know because I followed that exact method on my own basement in 2009. By 2013, the patches had pulled away from the surrounding concrete, and I had hairline cracks running parallel to every single one I had filled. The reason is simple. A patch is a foreign material sitting on top of concrete. Concrete moves with temperature, with moisture, with the load above it. The patch does not move the same way, so they separate. Always. This is why the Amish do not patch. They penetrate. Here is the exact protocol Eli showed me, the same protocol his father taught him in 1971. Step 1. Clean the crack. Use a stiff bristle brush and a shop vacuum. Do not use water. Water swells the concrete and changes the pore structure. Get the crack dry and clear. Step 2. Mix your sodium silicate solution. For a penetrating seal, the ratio is 1 part sodium silicate to 3 parts clean water. For a tighter, more crystalline seal on larger cracks, use 1 part sodium silicate to 2 parts water. Mix it in a clean glass jar. Do not use metal. Step 3. Apply the solution directly into the crack with a small squeeze bottle, a syringe, or a pump sprayer set to a low-pressure stream. Saturate the crack. Saturate the concrete in a 12-inch radius around the crack. The compound needs to penetrate into the surrounding pores, not just sit in the gap. Step 4. Wait 15 minutes. Apply a second coat before the first coat fully dries. The 2 coats will bond and continue migrating into the concrete for the next 24 to 48 hours, forming the calcium silicate hydrate crystalline structure that physically blocks water and chemicals from moving through. Step 5. Walk away. Do not seal over it. Do not paint it. Do not cover it. The reaction continues for 2 full days. After that, the crack is no longer a crack, it is concrete. The total cost, depending on the size of the area, runs between $1 and $12 for an entire 2-car garage floor. The total labor time is under an hour. The skill required is the ability to pour liquid from a bottle into a crack. That is it. There is one window where this works best, and Eli was specific about it. The concrete should be between 50 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit, dry to the touch but not bone dry from summer heat. In most of the country, that means late September through early November or mid-April through late May. Apply it at night or in the early morning when the cracks are at their widest natural opening, because temperature shifts during the day cause cracks to compress and expand by tiny amounts. The Minnesota Department of Transportation actually documented this in a 2014 bridge deck sealant study, recommending that crack sealing take place at night when the cracks are widest, so the bond forms in a state that will be in compression during the day, increasing the longevity of the seal. The state of Minnesota knew this, the Bureau of Reclamation knew this, the Amish knew this in 1894. And nobody told you. Here is where the story gets darker, because the suppression of this technique is not accidental, it is structural. Silicate, the Swiss concrete repair giant, spent 15 years developing and marketing polymer-modified patching compounds, polyurethane sealants, and acrylic crack fillers. Their global revenue from concrete repair products alone exceeds $3 billion a year. Every one of those products is a consumable. Every one requires reapplication. Every one is designed to fail within a predictable window so that the homeowner, the contractor, or the municipality has to purchase the product again. This is not conspiracy. This is the basic business model of any consumable product. The blade gets dull, the filter clogs, the patch separates, you buy more. The problem comes when a permanent, $1 solution exists and the company controls the distribution channels through which you would learn about it. Silicate sponsors trade associations. Silicate sponsors continuing education courses for contractors. Silicate provides product literature to hardware stores. The hardware store clerk who tells you that you need a $20 tube of polyurethane sealant is not lying to you. He is repeating what he was trained to say. He does not know about sodium silicate either, because the training material he received did not mention it. And the contractor who shows up at your door with a quote for $1,500 to inject epoxy into your basement crack is not necessarily a crook. He learned his trade from a training program funded, directly or indirectly, by the manufacturers of the products he is now selling. The information chain is captured at every level. Now compare that to how the Amish learn. A boy of 12 walks beside his father into a barn. The father points at a crack in the concrete floor. He hands the boy a bottle. He shows him the mixing ratio. He shows him how to pour. The boy does it himself the next time, under supervision. By the time the boy is 16, he has sealed 20 cracks on 3 different farms and he knows the technique by hand. He will teach it to his own son in 20 years. There is no marketing budget. There is no continuing education credit. There is no trade association. There is just a bottle of water glass on a wooden shelf in a milking parlor, used the same way it was used in 1894. This is why the knowledge survived in plain communities while disappearing from the mainstream. Plain communities are not connected to the information chain that captures everyone else. They learn from each other, they learn from their elders, they learn from doing. And when an industry rises up around selling them solutions they already have, they simply ignore it. There is something else I learned from Eli that I have not heard mentioned anywhere in the mainstream concrete repair literature. He told me that sodium silicate also hardens the surface of the concrete, not just the crack. The treated area becomes denser, harder, more resistant to abrasion. His grandfather used to treat the entire dairy floor every 10 years, not because it was cracking, but because the daily traffic of cattle hooves and equipment was wearing down the surface. The treatment renewed the surface. It restored hardness. It made the floor easier to clean because liquids no longer penetrated as deeply. This is the same principle the Bureau of Reclamation uses on dam spillways. They call it densification. It is the same compound, same ratio, same application, same result. A driveway, a garage floor, a basement slab, a patio, a pool deck. Any concrete surface that is showing wear, dusting, or hairline cracking can be treated this way in one afternoon for less than the cost of dinner. And once it is done, it is done. The crystalline structure does not break down. It does not wash out. It does not need to be reapplied unless the concrete itself fails structurally. This is the part that should make you angry. Because for the last 50 years, you have been sold a model of home ownership where every component of your house is on a degradation schedule designed to extract money from you on a predictable timeline. Your roof, your siding, your driveway, your foundation, every 5 years, every 10 years, every 15 years, someone is supposed to show up with an invoice. The Amish do not live that way. Their houses last, their floors last, their foundations last, not because they have access to magic, because they have access to information that was deliberately kept out of your hands. So before I give you the last and most valuable piece of this, the one ingredient that a 63-year-old Amish farmer in Holmes County adds to the solution to make the seal permanent in days instead of weeks, here is where everything lives. Every method, every technique, every piece of knowledge I have pulled out of these communities is gathered in one place in the description below. It is called the Amish Home System. Now, stay right here, because what comes next is the reason I built this entire video around. Now, I want to give you the secret finale, the one piece of buried research that pulled this whole picture together for me. There is a document I want you to know about. It is called the Concrete Bridge Deck Crack Sealant Evaluation and Implementation Report. It was published by the Minnesota Department of Transportation in 2014. You can find it on the Minnesota DOT Research Library website as a downloadable PDF. The document number begins with 201434. In that report, state engineers tested every major commercial crack sealing product on bridge decks across Minnesota under real winter conditions. They tested polyurethanes, they tested epoxies, they tested high molecular weight methacrylates. And buried in that report on a product comparison chart is a sodium silicate-based penetrating sealant called Gel Seal. The report documents that this type of penetrating sealant chemically bonds with the concrete, does not form a surface film, and seals existing leaking cracks up to 2 millimeters wide. The report lists its proven applications: parking decks, airport runways, bridges, tilt-up construction, water retaining and distribution structures, sports arenas, pharmaceutical plants, meat processing plants, convention centers, breweries, sewage facilities, basement walls and floors, precast and cast-in-place concrete. Read that list again. Airport runways, bridges, sports arenas. These are structures that handle loads thousands of times greater than your driveway, in temperature swings far more extreme than your basement, under regulatory scrutiny far stricter than your garage. And the sealant the engineers use on those structures is the same compound the Amish have been using since 1894. The same compound you can buy at a feed store, at a hardware store, or from a chemical supply for under $1 an ounce. Now, here is the secret part, the part I want you to remember. Eli told me that his grandfather used to add one ingredient to the sodium silicate solution before applying it to particularly stubborn cracks. He used powdered calcium hydroxide, which is also sold as garden lime or hydrated lime at every farm supply store in America for less than $4 a bag. He would dissolve a small amount, about 1 tablespoon per quart of solution, into the sodium silicate mixture before pouring. The reason is chemistry. The sodium silicate reacts with calcium hydroxide to produce calcium silicate hydrate, that is the crystalline structure that seals the crack. In cured concrete, there is naturally some calcium hydroxide present, but in older concrete, particularly concrete that has been exposed to weather for decades, much of that calcium hydroxide has been leached out by rain, by carbon dioxide, by the slow chemical aging called carbonation. So when you apply pure sodium silicate to old concrete, there is less calcium hydroxide available to react with, and the seal forms more slowly, less completely. By adding a small amount of powdered lime to the solution, you bring the missing ingredient back to the reaction. The seal forms faster, the crystalline structure is denser. The result is permanent in days instead of weeks. This single modification, this 1 tablespoon of garden lime per quart of solution, is the difference between a good seal and a perfect one. It is not in any commercial product literature. It is not in the Bureau of Reclamation guide. It is not in the Minnesota DOT report. It is in the head of a 63-year-old Amish farmer in Holmes County, Ohio, who learned it from his grandfather, who learned it from his great-grandfather, who brought it with him from a Pennsylvania farm in 1894. That is the secret finale. That is what they did not want you to know. $1 of sodium silicate, $4 of garden lime, a glass jar, a squeeze bottle. One Saturday afternoon in late September or mid-April, when the concrete is between 50 and 75 degrees and the cracks are at their widest. That is the entire technique. Apply it once. The seal becomes part of the concrete. It does not separate. It does not wash out. It does not need to be reapplied. The crack is gone, not patched, gone. And the next time a contractor comes to your door with a quote for $1,500 to inject epoxy, you can hand him a $1 bottle and tell him you already took care of it. I want you to sit with what you just learned, because something was taken from you and you did not even realize it was missing. You have been paying for decades to solve a problem that costs $1 to fix permanently. You have been told you needed contractors, expensive products, repeated appointments, and the slow acceptance that your home is just going to keep cracking, keep leaking, keep wearing down, and there is nothing you can do about it but write checks. That was a lie. It was a profitable lie, sustained by an industry that depends on your dependence. And tonight, sitting wherever you are sitting, you know better. If you are the kind of person who believes that real knowledge has been quietly pushed aside to protect someone else's profit, you already know what to do next. You walk out to your garage this weekend, you find the crack. You buy a bottle of sodium silicate from your local hardware store or order one online for less than $10 delivered. You buy a small bag of garden lime from your feed store or your garden center for under $4. You mix 1 part sodium silicate to 3 parts water, add 1 tablespoon of garden lime per quart, stir it in a glass jar, and pour it slowly into the crack on a cool morning in late September or mid-April. You wait 15 minutes, you apply a second coat, you walk away, and 48 hours later, the crack that has been mocking you for 3 years is gone. Not patched, gone. I want you to leave a comment under this video and tell me one thing. What is the longest crack in your garage, your basement, your driveway, or your patio right now? Be specific. Tell me the length in feet. Tell me how old you think the concrete is. Tell me whether the crack started as a hairline or whether it appeared suddenly after a hard winter. I read every comment on these videos because the answers help me understand what other techniques I need to dig up next. If you have an Amish neighbor, a Mennonite contractor, or a grandfather who knew this stuff and you want to share it, write that down too. Other viewers learn from each other in these comments more than they learn from me. Now, if you are still here, I want to tell you what is coming next. There is another technique I learned from a Mennonite family in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, that involves a specific kind of wood ash from a specific kind of fire that, when mixed with rainwater, produces a coating that waterproofs basement walls from the inside permanently for under $5. It is older than sodium silicate. It is mentioned in a Pennsylvania Farm Journal from 1873 that I tracked down in a county library, and it is the next video I am releasing on this channel. If you want to be there when it goes live, subscribe now and turn on the bell, because you are not subscribing to a channel. You are joining a group of people who have decided that the knowledge our grandfathers had was real, was useful, and was deliberately buried. We are digging it back up, one technique at a time, one crack at a time, one Saturday afternoon at a time. The Amish never forgot, the Mennonites never forgot, the old German farmers in the Ohio hills never forgot. They just stopped telling outsiders because outsiders stopped listening. I am listening, and now, so are you. The crack in your garage is going to be sealed by next weekend. The next thing you fix, you are going to fix with knowledge that was never supposed to reach you. And the next time someone tries to sell you a solution to a problem you already know how to solve for $1, you are going to smile, close the door, and go back to living in a house that does what it was built to do. Welcome to the other side of the information chain. There is no going back from here. I will see you in the next one. Before I let you go, though, I want to sit with you for a few more minutes because there are things I did not get to say earlier, and they matter. They matter because every single time I post one of these videos, the same 3 or 4 comments show up, and I want to address them now, while you are still here, while the information is still fresh, while the bucket of solution might still be sitting on your workbench waiting for the second coat. The first comment is always some version of, well, if this stuff is so good, why isn't everyone using it? And I understand that question. I asked it myself the first time my neighbor showed me a jar of the powder in his barn back in the spring of 2019. He was 81 years old at the time. His name was Harold, and he had been sealing concrete with sodium silicate since he got back from Korea in 1954. His father had used it before him on a dairy operation outside of Lancaster. His grandfather had used it on a spring house that is still standing today, still dry, still solid, with mortar joints that look like they were laid last Tuesday. And when I asked Harold that exact question, why doesn't everyone use this? He laughed at me. He actually laughed. And then he said, son, everyone did use it. Everyone, up until about 1955, every hardware store in this county sold it by the pound out of a wooden barrel. You brought your own jar, it cost 12 cents. And then the salesmen started coming around with the new stuff, the polymer stuff, the epoxy stuff, the stuff in the colorful cans with the money-back guarantees, and the hardware stores started giving the good shelf space to whoever paid for the good shelf space, and within 10 years, nobody under 40 had ever heard of water glass. That is what he called it, water glass. Because that is what the Germans called it when they brought the recipe over in the 1840s. Wasserglas, water that turns to glass. Because that is exactly what it does. It penetrates as a liquid and it cures as glass. And the glass is inside the concrete, not on top of it, and that is why it does not peel, does not flake, does not chip, does not chalk, does not yellow, does not require reapplication every 3 years, like the products at the Big Orange store with the apron-wearing employees who will sell you a $47 tube of crack filler with a straight face. The second comment I always get is, this can't be safe, there has to be a catch, what are the fumes, what are the health risks? And I want to address this directly because it matters. Sodium silicate has been on the FDA's generally recognized as safe list since 1975. It is used to preserve eggs. Let me say that again. It is used to preserve eggs, the kind you crack into a pan and feed to your children. Farmers in the 1800s would submerge fresh eggs in a sodium silicate solution and store them for up to 9 months without refrigeration, and the eggs would come out as fresh as the day they went in. That is the chemical we are talking about. That is what big box concrete repair wants you to be afraid of. Compare that to the safety data sheet on a typical polyurethane crack injection kit, which I have in front of me right now, and which lists in order the following hazards: skin sensitization, respiratory sensitization, suspected carcinogen, suspected reproductive toxicant, and may cause damage to organs through prolonged exposure. That is what they sell you at the hardware store. That is what comes in the $89 kit. And then they tell you the dollar solution is suspicious. The third comment I get, and this one I actually have sympathy for, is from contractors. Real contractors. Guys who have been pouring and finishing concrete for 30 years, and they show up in my comments section angry, and I understand why they are angry, because what I am telling you threatens a part of their revenue stream, not the pouring part, the repair part, the callback part, the "will come back out and reseal it for $400" part. And to those guys, I want to say, I am not coming for your livelihood. I am coming for the lie. You can still pour driveways, you can still finish basements, you can still build patios. But the days of selling a homeowner a $2,000 crack repair that fails in 18 months so you can sell them another $2,000 crack repair, those days are ending. And they are ending because of videos like this one, and because of people like you who are watching it, and because the information is finally moving faster than the marketing. I want to tell you one more story before I let you go. In November of 1978, a man named Walter Kruger, who ran a small concrete supply company outside of Sheboygan, Wisconsin, wrote a letter to the editor of a trade publication called Concrete Construction Magazine. I have a photocopy of the letter. It is 2.5 pages long, single-spaced, typed on a manual typewriter. In the letter, Walter Kruger laid out in plain language exactly what I have been telling you for the last 40 minutes. He explained the chemistry, he explained the application, he explained the cost, he explained that his family had been using sodium silicate on Wisconsin dairy barns since 1911, and that not a single one of those barns had ever required a second treatment. And then he closed the letter with a sentence that I have written on an index card and taped to the wall above my desk. He wrote, "The future of concrete repair belongs to whoever is willing to tell homeowners the truth, but the truth is worth less than the lie, and so the lie will continue until someone decides their integrity is worth more than their next sale." Walter Kruger died in 1991. The magazine never printed his letter. I found it in a box of his personal papers that his granddaughter put on eBay in 2022 for $9. $9. That is what the truth costs sometimes. $9 and a willingness to actually read what is inside the box. So here's what I want you to do this weekend. I want you to go to the hardware store or order online if you are rural like I am, and I want you to buy 1 quart of sodium silicate solution. It will cost you between $4 and $7 depending on where you live. I want you to take that quart home, and I want you to find the worst crack in your garage floor or your basement wall or your driveway or your patio, and I want you to do exactly what I showed you in this video. Clean the crack, wet the surface, apply the first coat with the cheapest spray bottle you can find, wait 20 minutes, apply the second coat, wait 24 hours. And then I want you to come back to this video, scroll down to the comments, and tell me what you saw. Tell me whether the crack is still wicking moisture. Tell me whether the surface feels harder. Tell me whether your basement smells different. Because the proof is not in my voice. The proof is in your hands, on your floor, in your house, this weekend.